You're listening to Heart to Hearts with Erika M, where midlife isn't a crisis, it's a calling. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and oh so real. Let's talk about it, shall we? Now here's your host, Erika M.
Welcome back, and welcome in, if you're new, that is. Today's episode 14, Breaking Generational Curses. Did I say that right? Generational curses, and the truth behind, the veil and what they don't want me to tell you. So here we go. Let's start with disclaimers, shall we? Because this one's going to be a doozy. So for the new listeners here, here's where we get really deep and keep it real, unapologetically. No sugarcoating, no shame. This is my healing journey and not a dumping ground of rhetoric noise. It's about purpose, truth, and solution. Here on this platform, Heart to Hearts, I share from my heart to yours in the biggest, baddest, ugliest, truth-bearing ways. All of it in a safe space. I created this to share the lessons and the failures and the solutions that I have taken on in my own personal life and how I have overcome the wicked ties and challenges I still face from really, truly sickening experiences, even family, not just society. I've dealt with and still dealing with up until now, until recently. So here I am. And I sort of sat on this for a while, I'll be honest. I wasn't sure I really wanted to unpack all of this because it's so present and current, only because it is current and so present. I think I said, yes, I'm going to do this. So lastly, this is where I also take a brief moment to ask you, my listeners, to do something for me. And that is review me, like if you like it, follow if you want to, and share if you'd like to share it with someone else. And maybe even comment and leave me a double heart emoji. That always helps. And of course, it supports me through your support because this platform depends on you to grow by reaching out through engagement. So thank you from my heart. I sincerely mean that. It does not go unnoticed. So now before we begin. This podcast is a space, as I mentioned, for truth, healing, and personal growth. I speak from lived experience, raw, real, and unfiltered, and unapologetically. What you hear today may challenge some listeners, but this is my story. This is my voice, and I'm not sorry about it. And I'm not going to shrink to appease or please anyone. So grab your poison. This is where we get comfy. Go get a drink, your cognac, your vape, your wine, your seltzer, whatever you do. I don't drink, so I'm going to grab my water and unpack this with you. And finally, if anything makes you uncomfortable, please, if anything at all, you're welcome to sit with it or step away. There are other podcasters out there with much more interesting, probably, content or topics, who knows, or not. But I am a podcast. Here's what I will say. I am a podcast host and content creator, not a licensed therapist, attorney. I'm not even a professional crisis management expert. Can you believe it? If you need immediate mental health, please seek someone with a license or a clipboard, as I usually like to say, because they could probably give you some more professional advice. So I'm loosey-goosey, but it's real and unfiltered. So you don't have to suffer in silence or rage anymore. There is a way out. I promise you, I am proof of that. And either way, the truth is going to come out. Here is where I connect with you and share the history, the pain, and the healing stories. And I've got a lot of those. And where we close chapters and rewrite our own stories, like I've said and mentioned in many episodes prior. And I narrate it pretty organically, if you haven't noticed. I mean, I do have my own research notes and things, but it's pretty it's pretty lib. What do they call it? Improv? I can't even speak right now, but I have literally been fasting for 3 days, so I'm a little hungry right now. As I mentioned, okay, this is done organically. So it's like a grassroots kind of way, if you will. And it's, it is what it is. So through time, by uncovering and discovering and discarding, I found this podcast and I created it. So we stand together here, we cry together here, and we laugh together here. And we celebrate you and me, our wins, our awareness, and our milestones. We don't get stuck and we don't stay stagnant. We move, we get up, and we rise again. So welcome back and welcome in if you're new. My name is Erika M, and I'm proud to say this is episode 14. So what is a breaking of these generational curses, right? Well, let me start with what is a generational curse, shall I? Okay, because that's important. Generational curses can manifest as repeating patterns of pain. They show up in betrayal, I should say, loss, or suffering, passed down through families. It's done silently. Nobody is like, here's my pain and suffering. Please pass this on to your children. It's not done like that. But the good news is it is done and it can be broken. So they are broken through awareness, through healing, and spiritual intention. And that's the truth. So what does it mean when a generation, I'm going to mess that up all the time. A generational curse is inflicted upon you. And how do you break that? Well, we're going to talk about it right now. And it's kind of interesting because it's what's happening to me and what's happened to me my entire life. And I'm pretty sure it's happened to you, or that you wouldn't have clicked onto this. So betrayal lives in family from generation to generation. And it's happened in, I think, the majority of families. And when I learned that it was happening to me, I was still in a place of denial, even, because of my own reasons. But I was conditioned. I know this now, but I didn't know this growing up, that I was conditioned and groomed by a narcissistic mother. Well, a malignant narcissistic mother and parents, so to speak, because my dad was also very narcissistic in his way, but he had traits. He didn't have the malignancy. He didn't have the evil aspects to it, which my flying monkey brothers have. And unfortunately, so does my one and only son. Now, I mentioned denial earlier because I couldn't see that these are generational curses, but because my mother helped me raise my son after my divorce, which was when he was 3 and 4, I say that because I was still not living with my mother when my son was 3 and 4. I had to make the cruel decision of going back home, a place I literally felt I escaped the grips of the devil, only to go back from being love bombed by my mother constantly. It was a constant push and pull of, she loves me, she hates me. She loves me, she hates me. I'm good, I'm bad. I'm horrible. I'm worse. Then I'm okay again. It's like the whole looping of these emotional cycles are what really trigger every single negative aspect that goes along with generational curses. And it is there designed by the devil himself. And if you don't believe in the devil, then I think you should probably click out, because if you believe in God, hopefully you do, hopefully Jesus, and if not your God, but a good God, I'm hoping, a sovereign entity of some sort, then you probably won't understand any of this. So here I go. I'm just warning you. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying it's not always the same when you think you're going to hear something that's going to break it down like all the other podcasts. It's not like that. What I'm talking about here is when your family, like your own mother, is the culprit and the matriarch and designer of this type of behavior that will be carried out the way she wants it. And we can find these types in society, among friends, not just family members, but generational curses. They're everywhere. And it's not something small. I want to start with a story before I go and unpack all of it, because I really think it's important, because societal curses, generational curses, they obviously carry on. Hence what I'm going to say right now. So sit back. Do you have your drink? Good. Let's talk about this. This one's about, Sonny and Cher? Okay, I hope you do. And if you don't, look it up. Chat GPT it. I used to say Google it. Now I say that. So let me read this. I did not write this, but I don't remember who did. So anonymous. Sorry, guys. Cher once fired her entire team in the middle of Las Vegas residency. And no, it was not a diva move. It was survival. By the mid-1970s, Cher had been through it all. Teenage runway, TV queen, Oscar snub, fashion punchline, Sonny's wife. When she took on a lucrative Vegas deal to secure her future post, Sonny, everything looked glittery on, with post Sonny, sorry about that. Everything looked glittery on the outside, but backstage, it was a circus of control. Her manager, stylist, even her choreographers, all men, all treating her like a decorative puppet. Wow, haven't I been there? One night, but I'm not sure, and I haven't been in a Las Vegas show, so let's be real. One night after a show, exhausted and humiliated by another shouted critique about her weight and outfits, Cher looked in the mirror, caked on makeup, drenched in sweat, and snapped. She just snapped. She gathered her entire team in her dressing room, lit a cigarette, and told them she'd rather lose every dollar than lose her name. Wow. I love that. She said, "I'm Cher, and none of you get to tell her." Oh, wait a second. No, that did not sound right. She says, "I'm Cher," she reportedly said, "and none of you get to tell her what to be." I don't know why they wrote it that way, but I think they were trying to say is I'm Cher and no one gets to tell me what to do or be. So she walked away from the contract. She took a financial hit and went back to Los Angeles with no plan, just guts. Within 3 years, she landed Silkwood, then Mask, and later Moonstruck, and each role shedding the campy label and reshaping her into a serious force. Now, what people forget is that Cher didn't just reinvent herself. She rescued herself. She was mocked for the plastic surgery, the costumes, the lovers, the tweets. I mean, I'm going to paraphrase here, but her mother was like, when are you going to get married and marry a rich man? And she's like, Mom, I am the rich man. I love you, Cher. I love you. So she kept pushing back against industry gatekeepers, against ageism, against the idea that women couldn't own their own spotlight past 40. Yeah, had to bring that up, right? Because this is a midlife type of podcast, and those who want to know what's going to happen at 40 or 50. And so Cher's greatest costume was always confidence. And I can relate to that because no matter what's ever been done to me or how I've taken hits or have fallen and gotten back up or what they've said about me, and I'm talking about my own family here, okay? She never took it off, and she never, and even when the world begged her to. And people have asked me to stop being confident. Why am I so confident when I was even chubbier? I'm not anymore, but like when I was. These are the type of underhanded compliments I would receive. Like, oh, you're so pretty if you only lost 20 pounds. Oh, but my confidence, and you're so confident when you walk in a room. It's like, well, why shouldn't I be confident? Because I don't have what? Or I'm not you, or I'm not perfectly skinny. Yeah, my friends of almost 40 years used to say that to me. They're no longer my friends because curses like that are carried, even if they're not intentionally mean, they are. And they're meant to undermine you. Just like when she gets critiqued about her weight. Well, how do you know what weight is right for her? You don't you don't know what's right for any individual other than yourself, and you probably don't even know that. So I mention all this because societal curses exist, baby, and so do generational curses within families. And I mention this because I said it already. I'm going through something. So let me tell you the truth about that. Because the details are graphic and depicting emotional manipulation, which is like gaslighting and the slow cadence of my self-betrayal, which is the truth, it was all formed around the psychological, emotional, and physical abuse that I received as a child. And I endured it. And I took it all my life after the physical abuse stopped, verbally and psychologically, that affected me emotionally. Until I became curious enough and learned as I grew up spiritually that I was always living under this black cloud and curse that I had to figure out what is this? And why do I always feel this way? And why, when I walk in a room, do I understand this, see that, sense that? Well, I didn't know then, but I'll tell you in a sneak right now. I am clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. I can have dreams, downloads, and I do channel. I don't speak to the dead. So I started to shift around, and look for these invisible cords that were tethering me unknowingly to this perpetual darkness, both seeking validation, acceptance from others, and it never arrived. It just never did. I was never good enough. I never did enough. It was never, like I mentioned, a lot of times people can move these goalposts and you're sitting there going, but wait, I'm exhausted. Can I have my drink now? Can I have some Gatorade? I just ran this 10 miles and you're saying I have to go another 16, 20? What? How is that even possible? So you understand. So as a little girl and a young adult, I was very dysfunctional in the way that I processed any emotion. I couldn't regulate myself. I was always in fear. Always, always, always. When I say always, I really mean always. And I didn't even know it. So I would make up for it by being overpleasing, quiet, not speaking my truth, shrinking, erasing myself slowly. And they accepted that because that's what they wanted. They hated my success. And to this day, they still do. Now, I mentioned my brothers. I won't mention their names, but I have 2 older brothers and 1 younger brother who's pretty successful, lives in New York. My oldest brother, who also attempted to molest me when I was 12. And I say molest because I'm on a platform that may not allow the word, but it's SA. And it didn't happen, thank God. It was in the middle of the night and he was naked and he tried to pry my legs open and it was devastating and it has affected me my entire life. It also prompted me to hate my mother for not protecting me even more at that age. And my mother never quite understood it and where the change came, why I hated my brother so much. And the next morning when I had confronted my brother, asking him, what was it? You were drunk? What was going on? He laughed and ignored me and said nothing. And every time after that I had the courage to bring it up, which wasn't many, I can count on 3 fingers, I believe. He just deflected it as if nothing. And then when I was 36 and I had to tell my family what had happened because I had had therapy, and in Costa Rica, where I'm from, the therapist had said, you know what, I think I need you to have a real serious conversation as a woman with your mom. I accepted that and I did it, and it was a disaster. At first, it was great. She encouraged the reflecting and going into the therapist and would pay for it, only to do the exact thing she'd always do, which was drop me, blame me, and mock me. And it made me feel like a piece of dirt on the floor. Not a pile of dirt, a piece of dirt. And that's what my mom's goal always was. And all let's go as far as to say is before I left that trip, I was there almost living in Costa Rica for 3 years. It was from 2006 to 2000, the end of 2008. So it was nearly, what? Well, 2006, all of 2006, all of 2007, then all mostly 2008. It was nearly 3 years. So she had said something one of her afternoons with her wine and her friends. And I say this for reference and context because I had been sleeping in my room trying to, get sober because the trauma that this brought up made me relapse. And as you know, in my podcast, if you don't, I'm sober, California sober, and I don't drink. I won't drink. And I had mostly my entire life sober with some bouts of relapse. And I think it's understandable because when this came out, I had nowhere to go. And like usual, I had nowhere to run to because the person who was hurting me was the person that I wanted to run to. Do you get it? And that was my whole life, my entire life, going to someone with a problem or a feeling and not being held and felt safe or protected. I was criticized, blamed. It was always my fault. And it was never understanding or compassion or empathy. And as a child, you grow up thinking you're just broken and unlovable. I didn't know I felt that way until later because of things that happened to me, and people who loved me showed me. People who actually cared about me, not the people who said they cared about me. Because I'm going to say this and make it clear. Love is a verb. It is not a noun. You take action. You do things with love. You create like Taj Mahals with love. So if you can't return a phone call or a text and you say you love someone, you really got to rethink your priorities and what you think about love. Just saying it as it is. So as a little girl and young adult, not feeling accepted and truly loved, that was a given. It was never, and I knew that something was very wrong, and it was normalized chaos, basically. It was always heavy and thick to be around my family. My mother in particular would drain me. Literally, I felt weak. Being around her was hell. It was literally hell. I felt like a hostage. I couldn't wait to turn 18 and leave, and that is exactly what I did. So I couldn't see the forest through the trees, much less ever feel safer, like everything was going to ever be okay. I was always gripped by fear daily from the moment I opened my eyes to the screams to her waking me up. I don't remember one time I sat at a breakfast table to eat breakfast, much less get help with anything like homework. I was never encouraged to do homework. I was never asked, do you have homework? I was never even asked, how was your day at school? And if I was, I don't remember it. I really literally do not. I was just existing, and my body, my mind, and my spirit were just dying. I was growing, but I was literally, my soul was like stunted and dying. As a young child, I wanted to commit suicide. I remember that very strongly. And remembering this and admitting this, and I'm sorry if that triggers you, there are places we can all go to get help for these things. And I will mention some of that. But this is true because I had forgotten it was part of my story and it was stifling to me. And it's funny because now that I'm doing this, not funny in a real way, but like funny that things that I have forgotten in childhood and in my young adulthood that were so traumatizing or hurtful, I have buried deeply. And I'm not giving you the full scope of it. I'm giving you the top version, the surface level. So imagine what you don't know. So now, knowing in hindsight how many families have these demonic curses, because I've been around a while, it's kind of like asking yourself, it's okay, so it's like invisible hands all over that I felt that were all over my neck like a noose is exactly what that feels like. But it's invisible, so you can't explain it to people. You don't even know what's really going on yourself. So you're like, what is this fucking thing that's plaguing me? So the generational curse my mother was plagued with had manifested onto me into a full-on coven in my immediate family, which I will call the Flying Monkeys, which are my 3 brothers. And she was the matriarchal devil, if you will. And my dad was her enabler. It was miserable for me every single day of my life. And her enjoyment was to mock me, literally. She would make things, make these crooked faces and speak in a very funny, weird, mocking voice way, humiliating me. And it was always her goal. It was always to make me look stupid or dumb or not pretty or fat or not wanted or not accepted or something. And I was branded and groomed to take it. I want you to hear that again. I was branded and groomed to take it. I heard things like, you're the black cloud. You're such a, I don't even want to say it. So everything was always my fault and taking all of it out on me, not my brothers, me. I just recall one thing is that she'd take pleasure in doing, and I'll say this, recalling the sabotaging of my clothing when I'd tell her, please don't wash my things, and she'd purposely do it. She'd flirt with, it was weird. She'd flirt sort of like with my boyfriends and become this charming woman and say that, and you know what, at the end, all my boyfriends all said, your mother's jealous of you. And I stupidly denied it, but they were all right. So why was my mom cursed? Well, she had her own family issues when she was growing up. Do I want to tell anyone, don't blame your mom? No, I don't want to say that, because everyone as an adult has their own agency, and it's their own path to discover themselves. It's their own advocacy, self-advocacy that pulls you into knowing what's going on with you. And when you're clouded and you're constantly around people who are purposely putting you in these positions, how do you get out? You pull back and you pull away and you get silent. So let's unpack it. Yeah, let's talk about this. Because as I said, I've been quiet way too long, and long enough, I'll say. I've let people slander me, twist my story, and act like I was the problem way too long. Just to protect the appearance of a family that doesn't exist? Just to be compliant and agreeable despite the actual truth and the effects? While doing that as a way to cope and try to make sense of it all isn't going to happen. And I'm not going to shrink anymore. Not like a wallflower, the wallflower that I used to think I was. Even though people would argue and say, she's this, she's that. I learned how to defend myself a lot, like a baby lion. Okay. So yeah, like a wallflower sometimes and like a baby lion the next. I was labeled difficult. And like I mentioned, a black cloud. By my immediate family and my extended family. Because despite how loved or unloved it appeared, the abuse was not addressed. Nope, not ever. It was glorified, it was encouraged, and that's how it was for me. And today, present tense, my toxic family exists after my mother's died 3 years ago and my father in 2018. And in 2018 is where my story began, where I started to really understand what a generational curse was. But don't think that that's where it started, because I hadn't spoken to my mom for a very long time before that. And I'm present tense going through a very difficult, how would I say, independent, want to say war, but I don't really like that word. I want to say battle between my brothers and my siblings and my son, who all allegedly disinherited me from my mom's will by keeping it, forging and perjury, and among other things that they've done, inheritance fraud, and who knows, much more I can't discuss or disclose. But these things I've already said to them, and it's nothing bad. I'm not saying they've done it. I said allegedly. So yeah, I'm in the proceeds of that at the moment. And really what it reminded me was to see everything in a different light and to learn that I'm not helpless. I'm certainly not. I kept quiet for 3 years after my mom died and allowed it to happen until now. So I'm using my platform as my voice to say, no, not going to happen. Not today. Not today, Satans. Not today, demons. Not today, brothers. And you're not my brothers. You're actually just my bloodline that unfortunately I got involved in. And I hope all of you who are hearing me understand that you have your own agency and your own voice, and you don't have to shrink for anyone, not even your family. You're not trapped. And if you feel trapped, I understand that, but there are ways out. And the way is awareness. That's step one. You've got to be aware of what's going on. And the way that you find that is by researching. Why do I feel this way? Start by just taking the first step of saying something's not right. And if the people who are doing this to you keep clouding you and saying, no, that's not true. That's not true. That gaslighting is real, man. And it is very toxic. It will destroy everything in your path that you want to create and or love or keep. Because the people that are surrounded by you, they always say, you are what you surround yourself with. The first 5, show me your friends, your first 5 friends, I'll tell you who you are. And that is the same with your family. Show me your family, I'm going to tell you who you are. But in my case, I don't have a family. I have cousins, of course. I'll never not call them my cousins. I have people I love in my extended family, but in my immediate family, I don't have one. And I'm a mother, but my son is no longer my son. Unfortunately, what he's done, wishing me death and literally stealing from me in ways that I can't disclose here on this platform, the coercion is beyond comprehensible. There are things that I can't even process as a mother that make me just, I can't even put it into, I can't articulate it. There you go. I can't. That kind of betrayal was learned through generations from my mother, and my mother having her hand over my life through ways of manipulation, isolation, triangulation. Did you hear that? Manipulation, isolation, and triangulation. Look at those up. Listen, individuals experiences this type of, I want to call it betrayal trauma, really. You could see it, and how do I spot it? Okay, so I said awareness. You spot it like this through anxiety, depression, fear, self-doubt. And the cognitive symptoms are intrusive thoughts, you know, difficulty concentrating, memory loss, memory issues. The physical is headaches, stomach aches, extreme fatigue. And those are also signs of like literal spells being put on you, by the way. And the behavioral symptoms, are hypervigilance, avoidance, difficulty trusting others. And with relationships, you'll struggle with intimacy, attachment issues, and challenges in setting boundaries. Does that sound familiar? So now I mentioned those are symptoms, right? Those are things you can look for as signs as to how you know that you might be under the influence of a generational curse, under your, maybe even just an individual, not a family member, but maybe not your whole family, I should say, but a family member. And it's betrayal trauma, 101. It arises when someone you deeply trust, or you should trust, like a partner, a parent, quote unquote, or institution, violates that trust. And this is called, like, I don't want to say a 1-year-old knows how to trust their parent. They just instinctively do, right? Okay. So this concept is introduced by psychologist Jennifer Freyd, and she highlighted how much such trauma can result in disassociation, fear, and shame, particularly when the betrayal comes from a caregiver or significant other. And those are not light things to just wash over what a society that does. We're talking about a society today that influences people, what they wear, how they look, what plastic surgery they're going to have. And I'm not just speaking about Cher and her wardrobe changes in Vegas. I'm speaking about the overall blanket of society and how you need to present yourself. And by all means, please do present yourself well. But it's come to a point where now it's toxic, and we have to navigate through this toxicity, and it's really sad. So I want you to look at yourself not as what's happened to you and not what your story is saying to the world. Maybe start writing it out. But some of the things I do is journaling. And a lot of it is really writing, getting it out, understanding it, putting it down on paper, black and white, and seeing it. It was also getting sober for me because I used getting drunk. And I wasn't always drunk, by the way. Don't think I was that drunk. I wasn't. I was a drunk when I drank because I couldn't stop drinking. But then when I stopped, I'd stop for a while. But I would use it as a Band-Aid for whatever was going on in my life. So this isn't just a generational curse that just affects one area of your life. It literally, it's like a web, a spider's web all over you. And you feel it, but you can't see it. So how do you uncover it? You pull it off. You see it for what it is, and you accept it for what it is, which is what I did when I finally decided to make the legal actions against my family regarding the inheritance fraud, the stealing of it, and all of that goes underneath that, which I won't get into in detail. I finally looked at my son for what he was when he stole my car in 2019 from under my relapse, when he crashed at my home because he didn't have a home. And that was 6 years ago. He's 32 now, so he wasn't a little boy. And he did it while I was drinking in my relapse, and I was trying to get sober, but he came in on my relapse, and I hadn't gotten fully sober, and took advantage of me. He stole my clothes in my closet and perfumes, and I don't know, stole them for who, I don't know, to sell. But he also took my car and never returned it and said, "You're not getting your car back." Because I spoke to someone at that time. I had had a deal with someone who I was living with, who I had the name under their name, and convinced them that I was not well and gave the car to them. Because it's not in my name, I couldn't say anything, but I was absolutely enraged. And the bottom line is, I've never hurt my son in a physical way. Have I said things? Of course, but nothing like you think. Nothing. I've said things that any mom would have said, and any parent, I should say, not just moms, at that time that was happening. It was unbelievable. But I got to tell you something. The healing came recently when I really started just to see him for what he is. Not what I wanted him to be, like my mother, what I wanted her to be, or my brothers, who I wanted them to behave like. No, for what they actually are. Because actions and love, they are simultaneous. And if they don't exist, you'll know it by the actions that they don't take, or the ones that they do take. Do you get it? I hope you're following me. So I kind of turned into this phoenix rising, if you will. I took off the cloak, I took off the veils, I undid the spider webs and got sober. And I'm still sober, and I'm committed to my sobriety of not drinking. And, you know, sobriety and mid-age is another episode I'll have, but to touch on that a little bit isn't just something small. There's a lot of us suffering out there that have Xanax addictions with alcohol and Coke. And I say that because it's the truth. People are suffering from addictions because they cannot get to the bottom of why they feel the way they feel. So look in your family. Look at your first 2 feet around you. Who's around you? Who do you go to for advice? Are they experiencing or sharing the same things as you? Because you don't know how many conversations I've had with people, and I won't name them, who have zero idea or clue as to what I'm actually saying, where I don't have to rephrase it or break down 2 sentences and then stop every 2 sentences to explain that one as well. It is not easy to explain this type of stuff. And especially when you're a super empath like myself. So when I had to go to me for the answers, who did I turn to? I turned to God, my spirituality. And for that, I had to get clearer than I've ever been, so that I could get the messages of what was my plan and what I needed to do next. And then I took the action and I did it. The denial was extremely thick. To face this denial was to face that I would lose my son. I don't want to crack my voice here, but I'm going to, obviously. Okay, so let me hold it together, guys. Because you know what? At the end of the day, I will always love my son. That's my son. But I will not accept anyone who's done what he's done. Wishing me dead, literally wishing me dead and plotting for it, literally plotting my death. And you can say whatever you want about hitmen, but spiritual warfare, boy, I had no idea that was being done to me. And that had been done to me my entire life. So the crux and the core of generational curses, any curse, really starts there. Admitting that my son, in my opinion and my experience, is a malignant narcissist is not an easy thing to say. Not on the spot for us, not out loud, but I'm saying it because I have to. Because it's robbed me of so much not saying it. Not admitting that my mother was abusive my entire life, or that my brother tried to abuse me sexually at 12, or that I've been drinking over these things my whole life, or the fact that I married a con artist and was pregnant at 4 months and told to have an abortion because he was already cheating on me, and all these other things. These are true facts. I could go on with the plethora of reasons why I should be broken and stay broken, but I'm not going to, because at this point I've risen and I want you to rise with me. So navigating this is not fun for me, but I feel very empowered. I feel stronger than I've ever felt, and I feel like the solution's in my hands, and it's already happening. And that the faith and trust that I have in God is amazing. And no matter what shakes my world, even the fact that I had to realize my son is who he is and has done what he has done, and so have my brothers, that there's an exit for me, and that is forgiveness. I speak about that on an episode as well. They didn't ask for forgiveness. Will never ask for forgiveness. And I know that this is probably going to break every tie I've ever had, but I don't want those ties. I don't need them. You know, I've processed heartbreak after heartbreak since my dad died. But when it really got heavy was when my mom died. It was prior to her dying and when she died May 1st, 2022. when the plotting began behind the will and the property and the life insurance, and little did she know that her own divisiveness was being used against her while she was ill. And by that I mean, narcissists can be very charming, right? And we're talking about three real solid ones in my family. Two of my older ones and my baby brother. I don't know about him because, to be honest with you, he got to escape and get a career out in New York, and he's doing fantastic. But he's also a very complicit person in the way, and I don't know exactly in what way, so I won't go there. Not yet, and I can't, even if I did, and I won't, even if I do. I just want to make it clear that all of this isn't just something that happens. The coercion, the manipulation, the triangulation, the isolation nearly made me kill myself, nearly made me take an exit from this world. And that was just recent. And thank God I saw it. And how I did that is like this. I got into therapy. I got sober. I faced my demon. And then I said, no more. I held strong to my faith. And I decided that it was enough. Enough is enough. No one's going to hurt me anymore. Not obviously in my face and not behind the scenes stabbing me in my back. When I finally figured out how many knives I had in my back for so long, I realized it was like so many. No wonder I was feeling the way I was feeling. And they attacked everything in my life. They tried to take away everything. And to some degree they did. And when I say I am a rising Venus, you really don't understand that. And that's what I want you to grapple on a little bit. Phoenix rising rises from the fire, from the ashes of fire. And she becomes something completely different. And yeah, it's something we hear. It's kind of cliche, the Phoenix rising, but it's actually pretty real. It's a pretty damn powerful thing. The Phoenix rises from ashes, cold, buried deep, and the Phoenix wakes from restless sleep. She's scorched and torn, but not undone. She spreads her wings, rebirth begun. And through fire's flame and bitter night, she rises fierce, reclaiming light. No cage can hold her burning soul. From shattered past, she becomes whole. Now, that gave me goosebumps, but I guess I'm sort of drunk on my renewal of power, if you will. Self-advocacy has given me this power, this voice, and it's more than just little things. And it's not the big things either. It's the clarity. It's the awareness. It's the control over myself, over my agency, over me, Erika. That is the most powerful weapon, and that they cannot take from you because you own it. It's not given to you by society and told this is who you are. And it's not given to you by family by saying this is what you have to do. It's your play. You're the main director in your story. So rewrite it and take out the players that are toxic, even if they're family members, even if it's your own child. Because how many people do we see on these shows that have children that have killed them? Literally just stabbed their moms. I saw something the other day, I can't even repeat here, that it was not saw. I saw a podcast and heard it, but it was disgusting the way this son murdered and raped his own mother. I should hope I raped, great, whatever. It's an adult platform, so hopefully that'll be okay. It just goes to show you that there's no trust in just because you were born into a family. How many fathers have SA'd their daughters? Apparently a lot. How many brothers do you know that are blamed for setting their cat on fire or having sex with their dog? It exists, people. So don't just buy into, oh, it's my family, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Absolutely. Because they had no problem doing it to you. And people will tell you whatever they want. The other day in society, let's just jump back and forth here. I'm on a podcast, and of course, I'm out to the public, and you can find me, you can look for me. So someone sends me a voice memo because she read one of my previous Molotov episode where I said, the melting pot throws Molotovs at society. And she obviously did not hear my full podcast and made a decision prior to finishing that episode, and sent me a voice memo calling me idiota. And who's this big dog advocacy, by the way? Her name is Adriana. I won't say the last name, but the bottom line is that she felt so inclined. And this is what I mean by perfect society gaslighting, including like what I've experienced. It's like she leaves me this voice memo that starts off really like, you in Spanish, you idiot, and starts with how I'm this and that because of what I've said on about the immigrants that's going on right now in present tense and present form, which I won't get into at this moment because you can listen to my episode and know how I feel about it all. But she never bothered to listen to it all before making an assumption and then acting on it. And then calling me out, sending me a voice memo on Instagram, bad mouthing me, and then saying, I love you. I'm going to pray for you. I mean that. And then I come to find out she's a dog advocate, like me, working with the same industry people. And I'm like, are you? And at the end, she ends it with, you idiot, in Spanish. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It starts off with an insult. In the middle, she's saying, I'll pray for you. I love you. And I will post this video, this voice memo here if I can legally. I'll ask my attorney. And then I can, I think, legally, but we'll see. Point I'm making is then she ends it with calling me the same bad names. That's the perfect example of my family. Perfect example of what I've gone through my entire life and how I've let boyfriends even treat me. The last one did a number on me. I just found out he was married. Can you believe that? Talking to this guy since May of 2022, 2 weeks after my mom's death, knowing that I get wrangled in because of what? My confidence. The things Cher had and that no one can take away and that I told you that you can have too and that no one can strip you from if you own it. And the only way to get there is by making yourself aware of what's going on and who's around you. Who are the 5 people that you surround yourself with? Who do you go to for advice? And are they living their own advice? Are you going to advice to someone who's never had kids or who's never been married and a successful one, I mean, or a healthy one? Then you got to check yourself. And no, I don't blame you because I did the same things, not knowing, thinking I was being intelligent, but I was being gaslit and I'd been groomed into thinking this is the way it is and it's not. It isn't. And it starts with us calling each other out to some degree and owning it. Because I have friends who won't even pick up a phone and text me after 40 years, even though she said, get over it. When my mom died and I texted her something, my mom has cancer. And she's like, I'm in the middle of something with my dog. Just close the chapter. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I would never say that to you. I was not speaking to you for 5 years when we had our last major fight. And I came to your father's funeral because your sister called me and you can't pick up a phone. Yeah, I hope you're listening. And no, I will never go back to people like that because that is what I mean by love is a verb, not a noun. And no, my ex can't sit there and point a finger at me and tell me anything because he gaslit me from day one. So all that crazy I felt was actually real. And everything I thought about my family doing to me is true and even worse because they put black magic over my life. No wonder I was in the hospital with a back, spinal, everything that happened to me. Of course, that's in an episode. And my hips needed this and that. And they were telling me I was going right into surgery. And I had to pause and get right with myself. And I didn't do it right away. And I said that in my episode. Even though I went to the hospital, I still kind of was on the fence about what was going on in my life. But I was clear that something evil was happening to me because of all the things that were happening to me all at once, at the same time, back to back, continuously. That is spiritual warfare. That is a generational curse or societal curse that is plaguing you, that has been put on your life. And you can break free from it by doing actual cleanses, prayer, moving yourself immediately away. And I will get into those aspects as well. And then I'll wrap it up because I don't want to go into this too much, but I want this part to be your takeaway. If you do nothing, choose yourself because I chose me and I will always choose me from this moment forward. Actually, it started before this moment, but I'm just going to say it for now. And that was 4:44 on the clock. So yeah, I do choose me. I've always chosen me. I didn't know I was choosing me the way I was choosing me, but I do now. And now I choose a way, way higher than I ever did because I know now that what they told me I could choose was not at all what I should be choosing. And when I say they, I mean that as a general blanket from family to friends to society to work to bosses to boyfriends to strangers. I don't really care what people think or say because you guys can say whatever you want about me. I really do not care. It does not affect me, but I'll be damned if I take it. Laying down anyway. I will speak out. I will protect and defend myself just like I will against my own family and disown my own son, literally. because what has been done to me is unacceptable and unfathomable. And it doesn't start with just the inheritance thing. It's from stealing of the car. And then before that, a lot of other stuff that I was in complete denial about. So ask yourself right now, who in your life is making you feel the way that I had mentioned earlier, anxious, in fear, inadequate, not enough, I don't know, depressed, always feeling like you have these intrusive thoughts or headaches and stomach aches and fatigue? And are you using things to numb yourself out like drugs? Xanax is a big drug, guys. It's not a drug, it's major. So if you're popping Xanax like Tic Tacs, you got a problem. And if you're chasing it with like a vodka or whatever, a drink, a alcoholic drink, you got a major problem. And if you do this on a daily, you need to get help. You do, even if you don't do it on the daily, because that is not normal. And no, it's not about shaming you, because I don't shame myself anymore. And I don't think anyone should be ashamed. I think the shame should be when you know and you still don't do anything about it. Like the complicit people who knew everything that was going on around me or about me regarding the slander and defamation from my own family and the lies and the big tales that my son told to Voyage magazine. Yeah, nobody told me. I found all of it out on my own. That type of complicity is the same as P. Diddy in his trial cases when everyone allowed, and I say allegedly what has been done because nobody knows for sure, but come on, let's be real here. The alleged crimes that P. Diddy has caused or people have come out to say he's done to them. Hello, and everyone loved him. Not anymore. Well, the good ones anyway. All I know is that we are 6 degrees from separation from everyone, and nobody knows the personal story or history. I don't judge people anymore by what they say. I judge by what they do. So with that, the takeaway is this. You can do things like I said. Go to a therapist. Become aware of what's going on inside of you. If you're not ready to pull the plug on everyone, or maybe you are, then do it. Because it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. And the moment I accepted that the truth was the truth, which I stand behind all the way, all the time, and that's my thing. That's actually my thing, is truth, communication, transparency. And have I always been that way? I kind of think I have to a fault, to be honest. But I know I'm not perfect, and I know I've made my mistakes. And yeah, I have my own temper. I was raised in rage. I had to learn to defend myself. What do you think? Of course I'm tough. And I don't back down. I am like that girl who does not back down. But I definitely know my exit now, and I definitely know what battles I choose to fight and which wars I will win. So this generational curse thing is real. Spiritual warfare is part of all of that. The symptoms I've mentioned are very real on both. It's not just betrayal trauma. It's the curses that have been put over your life that are meant to make you feel these ways so that you can discern no more and you can pause and make deep reflections that go nowhere, because that is self-doubt and that is gaslighting and that is destruction of your reality by design. And people who know to do that are the worst kind, because they're doing it on purpose and creating this idea version of themselves that they play into the world, the society, and you, which makes it even worse, because when you try to explain what's being done to you, no one believes you. They doubt you and they question you and they say, oh, well, you're kind of intense and crazy, so maybe it's you. Hey, no, it is not. A lot of people out there with these types of intense personalities or intense anything are because of that. So listen, take away this. Choose yourself. Become aware. Get into therapy. Uncover, discover, discard. Cleanse your space and yourself. Look it up, guys. It's spiritual and it's energetically. It's a basic bath cleanse. It's a 3-day cleanse you can find online and or TikTok or who knows where. I won't go into the semantics of it, but it's really not that hard. You can also burn herbs or resins like Palo Santo. Frankincense is great, and copal or myrrh. I burn frankincense, myrrh and Palo Santo to smoke out your home and yourselves from feet to head. And say a prayer like this. Only light and love may remain. All other forces must go. I call on my ancestors and divine protectors to stand guard. And do this and mean it and do it all the time. Because if you're experiencing things like delays or opportunities that come but then fall off right away, evil eye exists. I haven't mentioned that, but it's real. And I don't own any evil eyes because it's also not acceptable in the Bible. And I'm not a Bible thumper, but I kind of am because I read it and it's open all the time and I pray to God. But I don't know, like, I do kind of know a few, but I don't know a lot of them, of the sections I should know, I should say. But as I mentioned, so do the cleanse of your space and yourself energetically. Say that prayer. Only light and love may remain. All other forces must go. I call on my ancestors and divine protectors to stand guard. In Jesus' name, amen. And protecting yourself is your responsibility. It's no longer your mother's. It's no longer, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but it's your responsibility. And what and who you let in your life isn't always your fault or on your control, but most of the time it is. So please use discernment because it will affect you. And by that, I will bring up something that I think is very overlooked, and that is sex. And when you have this sex with someone who you don't even know, you're carrying all their generational curses and having it literally inside you. Literally. And energy is real, people. I'll give you an example. I used to own a store, and every time I used to play this game with my girls. Someone would walk in the store and that first person would, good morning, blah, blah, blah. And let's say that person went to a sweater. They went to the same sweater. Every single person after that went to that same sweater. That's what I meant to say. So energy is real. Why gravitate to the same sweater in that same little corner in the back of the room? Why not start in the front? Every single person, I would prove it to them every time. Try it. You'll see. So pray and affirm while pouring water over your head and say, I release all energy that does not belong to me. I return my divine center to my divine center, No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I know a lot of people have heard that. And these are spiritual baths, by the way, which you can mix with sea salt and Florida water, basil, rosemary, and hyssop. These are things that you can use along with all the other things. And protect yourself, even with an egg. Okay, I did this once, and it was pretty interesting. It was an egg cleanse. And you do it by rubbing a raw egg over your body, head to toe, praying for negative energy to be absorbed. And then there's a process to it, so I don't want to tell you the whole process. Go look for it and do your own egg cleanse, okay? And pretty much that's it. It's not a lot I can give you without, and this is a lot, actually. It doesn't seem like a lot, but what I just asked you to do is major. You're going to face your fears, your demons, and maybe literal demon, and squash it and then heal from it. And that's not an easy thing to do. To face something, that's half the battle. I mean, that's the best thing you could probably do. But then getting out of that denial, that's thick. That's what kept me under for so long, is not wanting to believe people were what they were showing me they were. So don't do that to yourselves. Please get out if you can. And know one thing, you're worth it. You really are. Because none of this, this world we live in, it's not forever. So let's make the most of what we've got while we're here. And these generational curses, if we don't get a handle on them as they spill into society, because these are people walk in society, are the same people that are doing these horrible acts and things against each other. Humanity's gone to the toilet. Does love truly exist anymore? I question it. But I know it's there because I am love. I really am. I'm tough love. I'm good love. I'm great love. I'm real love. And I'm a gift. And so are you. Don't let anyone who has tried to tell you you aren't stick. In fact, look at them, laugh, and walk away from them and never listen to them again. And I mean that. Anyone who shows you who they are and how they can be, especially at a time when you're vulnerable, run. I say that a lot in my episodes. Run for the hills. I don't care if it's your own child, but I know that's not easy to do. But when you see that your son has or your daughter has issues, mental health is real. Please go find their help. And the mistakes I've made were that I went back to my mom's house. And I know that that was one of my biggest mistakes. So if you can discern from doing stuff like that while you're healing, I would. If you can move, do it. If you can break up, do it. If you can get divorced, do it. And let people know you have new boundaries. And there's a new sheriff in town, and it's called you. Because you choose you. I choose me. I'll leave you with that. I love you. Stay safe out there. Stay solid. Don't let people fuck you around. And know more than anything that you are so flippin' worth it. Okay? Bye.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Heart to Hearts with Erika M. If today hit a nerve, stirred a truth, or sparked a comeback, make sure to subscribe, share, and come back next Sunday when Erika talks about whatever she wants. Midlife isn't the end. It's where the story gets good and the middle gets rewritten. Your way.